Well, good afternoon, everybody. It's great to have you with us. I'm Joe Morgan. The name of this podcast is There's More to It. Today, our guest is Chris Morgan. He has written a book. The name of it is Playing Chase with God, and it's about prayer. It seems like prayer is extremely simple, but you say there might be more to it.
Yeah. Well, first of all, thanks for having me. And I would simply say this. I think that there is more to prayer when you start comparing it against most people's experience. So I would say prayer is something most people believe in, something most people practice at some point in their life, but almost everybody has the experience of, I think there's more to that than what I just experienced, which is why they sort of fall off the train. You know, it's like they've tried prayer and experimented it with for a minute. Right. You know, like I would even say, the story from my life is I grew up in a house that believed in prayer. Right. We were church going family, so I was around prayer. I was exposed to it, but I didn't give it an honest test drive until I was probably 16 years old. Right. And I think the key there is honest test drive. It's like when you make an honest effort at what it actually is, then you realize, oh, there's more to it.
There you go.
There's more to it than what I thought.
Right.
Which we sort of intuitively already know. Like we realize, how could prayer be something that's lasted centuries and centuries, thousands of years? Like people have been calling out to the sky. They've been calling out to God. Right. Why has that endured? Well, because there's more to it. Sure. And when you get to that, well, now it can begin to actually work for you, which is the point of why we would even be here talking. Like maybe we can help some people.
Yes, sir. You know, I think that's a very good point, that everybody needs prayer. Everybody relies on prayer, but most of the time it's more of a want list that we're presenting to the Lord, not a thankful list that we're presenting to the Lord. Tell me something about the book, Chris. How did it come about? Give me a little background on you and how the book came about.
Well, I'm a pastor. I've been a pastor for 30, 40 years and in the local church. So obviously my thoughts and my identity and a lot of my life pursuits have hovered around what does it mean to know God, to have intimacy with God. And I have a pastor friend of mine. He actually made the statement. This is over a decade ago when I first heard this, but it just stayed with me. He said when he was talking about in this motif of like the children's game of play chase, which we can talk more about that in a second, but like he basically said this. He said when God is chased, he lets himself get caught. And it was like when he said that, it was like I took a little snapshot and it just sort of branded upon my brain or in my soul, and it just stuck around. Right. And so, you know, fast forward more than a decade later when I decided, I had this idea for writing this book. And there were a lot of ideas that were spinning off of the primary metaphor, but the primary metaphor was just this idea of playing chase with God, that when we chase God, he lets himself get caught. And so it's like when my kids were young, right? So I have 3 kids. They're grown now, but back in the day when they were young, the prized portion of the day was when I came home from work and I would walk through the door and they knew it was time that we were going to play. It was like, Daddy's home, you know. Right. And so we were going to do various forms of playing chase or wrestling in the floor. But here's the thing, like what... They would ask for the game of play chase, but what is play chase? Well, play chase comes in any variety of forms. Like there's tag and there's hide and seek but here's the key. Here's the thing. As somebody who was much older than my children, if I wanted to hide from them beyond their capacity to find me, I could have easily done that.
Sure.
But the point of the game was that I wanted to be found by them because their delight was my treasure. Certainly. And so I was hiding, but I wasn't hiding from them. I was hiding for them. And I was
Amen.
bursting with anticipation to be found by them.
Right.
So this then becomes the primary metaphor of the book of understanding that this is the posture of God towards me, that there's more to prayer, meaning God is invested in this two-way relationship. Sure. And my posture in it is that I am seeking, I'm playing chase, I'm chasing after him, but he's not hiding from me, he's hiding for me. He's bursting with anticipation to be found by me. And every time I find him,
Right.
something new is being built in the history between me and God. And when you get into that, I mean, that's when you can truly say about prayer, yeah, there's more to it than what you thought. Like you thought it was just this moral obligation box to check and do the right thing and say the right words, and you have missed the point almost entirely.
Of prayer.
There's
Sure.
someone on the other side of the conversation. He is inviting me and you to come, to enter into a game of chase. And you're like, well, why does he have to hide? Well, he's not really hiding. Like I said, he's not hiding from you. He's hiding for you. Just like think about you're, and I'm going on here, not even letting you talk. You just stay quiet. I'll keep talking.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So, but here's the thing. It's like, if you think about all of your important relationships in life, don't they involve some level of pursuit? Like
Certainly.
what good relationship, strong relationship do you have where the other person's not invested enough that they're putting some pursuit from their side towards you in the relationship? And then it's mutual, me back to them.
Sure. Every married person is a person.
Every married person. And
perfect example.
So this becomes then the primary metaphor of the book and what the whole book is spinning around, the orbit of the book.
Yes.
That is telling us there's more to prayer, is simply this, that everything you already know about building solid, important relationships in your earthly relationships, if you take those same lessons, you can directly apply them to your own pursuit of God, and they illumine the path. They're almost like these shining stones that outline this path towards the knowledge of God, or towards the experience of who he is, building a life with him. And that was the big revelation for me. Honestly, probably a lot of your listeners, maybe they go like, you're just figuring this out? You're as old as you are, you're just figuring this out? But like for me, I realized I know more about prayer than I thought I did.
Right.
Why? I just had to begin to apply everything I already know about building good relationships and I need to drop all of the weirdness that we bring to the table
Right.
when it comes to talking to God.
Sure.
He didn't prescribe that stuff. He didn't prescribe me to sit over here and go like, now how am I supposed to sound like a pastor when I pray? How, am I using the right words? Am I saying the things I hear in church? Like, did he prescribe any of that? Listen, and I know, you got me going. So
that's good. That's
I'm just
good.
rolling.
Yes, sir.
But like, think about, what did Jesus do? Jesus came and he pointed to the religious guys, all the Pharisees,
Right.
and he said to his disciples, he said, you see those guys praying? Don't do it like that.
Right.
Don't do it like, they use repetition and they think they're going to be heard because they multiply their words.
Right.
He said, not like that. But then on another day,
Right.
the children were trying to come to Jesus.
Right.
The disciples were shutting them down. They're going like, you kids get out of here.
Right.
And Jesus was like, don't stop them.
Right.
Let them come to me. He said, why? Because the kingdom of heaven belongs to such as them.
Such as them. Exactly.
And so then we go like, okay, well then how do we not pray like Pharisees or have religious specialists or religious experts?
Right.
And how do we just bring what a kid would bring?
Excellent.
And that's another conversation, maybe for another day. But that gives you like the setup, the start of what's the orbit of the book and why can we say there's more to it.
Excellent. Well, Chris, thank you very much. I think what I would like to do is we will get into the book further in our subsequent sessions. But I wanted to give our listeners a background, an enthusiasm for what this book is about and how it can help them. And I'm looking forward to the next sessions, and I hope that all of the listeners are. Now, I tell you what, in case they want to get a book to sort of follow along where we are, how can they get a copy of Playing Chase with God?
Well, thanks for asking.
Right.
It's a little obscure story. You're really going to have to look for it. But it's called Amazon.com.
I think I've heard of it.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Amazon.com, and it's just under Playing Chase with God, Chris Morgan. And you can get your own copy right there. They'll ship it straight to your door.
Excellent. Good deal. Well, I hope that everyone is excited as I am about getting into this book and finding out that there is more to it. But the more to it is not about the prayer, it's about your relational prayers. So look for it next week, and thank you very much. And Uncle Chris, we'll see you next week.
Thanks for having me.
You betcha.